Hero pose, sometimes referred to as sitting seiza, can be a really nice stretch for our quads and our ankles, really working on our passive flexibility of being able to relax into the stretch position. But being able to do the full version of the pose where our butt is sitting on our heels takes a whole lot of quad and ankle flexibility. So let's talk about some progressions to work towards this position, if this isn't something you can comfortably do or gives you a little bit of knee pain, as well as go past this position if you're someone who can chill out in this pose and you're not feeling like much of a stretch. For my tight-hipped friends, blocks are going to be your best friend. At least 2 blocks, possibly 3. I'll show starting with 3 blocks and we'll take them away and see how that affects how our quads are getting stretched. For my 3 blocks, I'm going to have them stacked, kind of a long way, running front and back down the sides of my mat. And I'm going to bring those blocks between my ankles. My heels aren't touching the blocks. My feet are still about hip width apart, so there's a little bit of space between my legs and my blocks. And I'm going to sit my butt back towards those blocks. Lifts my chest on up. This is a much gentler quad stretch because our heels are farther away from our butts. And if you've got stiffer ankles, you may have your heels a little bit higher in the air, having your ankles in a bit of a flexed position. I still suggest trying to keep the tops of your toes on the ground as opposed to tucking your toes and doing this with your feet completely flexed. So over time, that's going to be more challenging for your ankles as we lower our butt more to the ground. If this feels comfortable and you're not getting a super crazy quad stretch, we'll take a block away, sit that butt back on down, and continue to repeat, sitting our butt closer and closer towards the floor, eventually possibly taking our blocks away and either sitting on our heels with our knees together, or if you prefer, between our heels with our feet on the outside of our hips and our thighs slightly internally rotated. This is more of a W sit. Usually it's sitting on the heels. It's the more traditional version. You can hold this passive stretch for anywhere from 20 to 30 seconds or beyond if it's comfortable. If this is something that doesn't feel like much of a stretch for you, we can start leaning backwards to increase the stretch through our quads, particularly our rectus femoris, the one that crosses our hip joint, and turn into a bit of a hip flexor stretch as well. It's going to turn it into our reclined hero. So to lean backwards, what we're going to do is start leaning back, bringing our hands behind us. As I'm leaning backwards, I'm going to think about rotating my hip bones backwards, tucking my tailbone towards the floor, lifting my pubic bone towards the ceiling, and even just by tucking my pelvis, I'm feeling more of a stretch through those quads. This feels like a comfortable amount of stretch. This is where you're going to hang out. If you want to go deeper, you can drop onto your elbows or all the way down to back to the floor.
If you want to learn more stretches like this, you should totally check out the Flexopedia on my website. It's a free online library of stretches with detailed how-tos for both passive stretches and active stretches organized by muscle group. You can access the Flexopedia by going to dannywinksflexibility.com/Flexopedia or simply click the link in this video description.